Welcome to BTN Live's fifth quarter here on BTN.com. We are so glad you have found us. Hope you enjoyed the show and more of it here with Glenn Mason, Jerry DiNardo, and Howard Griffith. I am Dave Revson. We're going to answer your questions in this segment each week, and we are going to start with a Twitter question that came from Kevin. He says, what is the biggest thing you're looking for Michigan to improve on this week against Notre Dame? And Mace, I'll start with you.
Well, this might be the first time that I've answered this question the last 2 years, and that's said defense. Denard Robinson, he's a great player, 446 total yards last week. I'd like to see them spread the wealth a little bit, take a little the burden off of Denard.
Yeah, I would agree with I'd go the same way. 81% of the offense. I don't think they can get through the year doing that the way they did it. Remember, last year they were on a roll. Michigan was on a roll until they played Michigan State. Michigan State stopped Denard and stopped the offense. They've got to diversify some.
You know, one of the things that was interesting from that game is the wide receivers. They had to step up and make huge plays because some of those balls that Denard threw were a little iffy. But he has to continue to get better as a passer for me because his receivers really bailed him out last week.
Yeah, there were a few jump balls there that, frankly, they came down with. Right. But still a phenomenal performance.
No,
obviously greatest total offense game in Michigan Stadium history. But, you know, it's interesting. You guys were talking about that running game in particular from the running backs. I mean, we were there this summer. We said, how's it going to be different? And it's basically the same. I mean, they had 10 yards from the running back position. So whether or not they can go through a whole year and be successful and do that, we'll see. This one comes from Tony, wants to know, what is the key for Illinois' offense trying to neutralize Vontaze Burfict, the great linebacker for Arizona State? What do you think, Howard?
I don't think you can run away from him. I think when you have a great player like that, particularly at the linebacker position, you have to figure out how to put a fullback on him or a guard on him or some double teams. Because if you run away from him, he has the speed and athleticism to chase those kind of plays down.
I think the first thing you do is make him part of the game plan. I don't think there's anything wrong with telling your team you're playing against a great player. You put some emphasis on him. Everybody buys in to taking a shot at this guy. Linebackers, I think you have to keep them off balance with run pass. You can't be so predictable, and you've got to run some counter plays. I think those are the three ways you can slow down a great linebacker.
Jerry, I agree with you, especially on the counter plays. Misdirection. Make him think you're going one way because, as you said, he's a heat-seeking missile. Well, send the heat over here, but send the ball over there and try to do those type of things. Plus, you got to block him. Sooner or later, you got to put a hat on a hat and block the guy.
The Illinois defense, or Illinois offense, I should say, has been a difficult one to contend with for opposing defenses. So we'll see whether Burfict is able to make the kind of impact that he has in other games. This one comes from Jason, who wants to know, who do you have in the Miami game against Ohio State? Do you like the Buckeyes dual quarterbacks, assuming that we see Braxton Miller again this week, or do you like the single quarterback at Miami coming back off the suspension?
Well, this will be a surprise to Jerry, but I like the Ohio State quarterbacks. and I say that for one simple reason. I think they'll protect the football better, and they'll make better decisions than the Miami guy.
Yeah, I like Joe Bosman the best. I'm not sure where Braxton Miller fits in. I'm not sure that I'd want to bring him back after a week being hurt down in Miami. And Bosman I like because I think he's safer and will protect the football. And in a game like that, if you turn it over down in Miami, you don't give yourself much chance to win.
Well, you look at Harris coming off the suspension. You talked about that, Dave. I think it's still a situation where when he gets into football games, he turns the football over as well, whether it's interceptions or fumbles. So I think I'd have to stay with Bosman in this situation because I think they're going to be able to run the ball and not going to take as many chances with the football as I believe Harris will take.
Ja'Cory Harris, a dynamic guy, a lot of hype going into last year, didn't necessarily live up to it. As you said, turnovers were a huge issue for him. Speaking of quarterbacks, this one comes from Max. He wants to know, when Dan Persa is healthy enough to play again, do you envision Persa and Kane Coulter on the field together for Northwestern?
Well, I do, and, you know, Jerry and I disagree on this one to a certain extent. You know, Dan Persa proved he was a great football player last year. Kane Coulter has proven he's a really good football player this year. I always liked when I was a coach to have the good ones and the great ones out there playing, not standing next to me, so that's why I'd find a way.
Yeah, I just don't think they can find a way to give Kane Coulter significant reps once Persa comes back as the quarterback. And I would say it'll be less than double figures. The average game, you take 70 offensive snaps, I don't see both of them playing more than 9 together. So that's why we disagree, I think, on the significant contribution. He'll contribute, but it won't be significant.
I think in any program, as you talked about, Coach Mason, you need to put the best players on the football field that you can find. And sometimes it might be two quarterbacks. So whether or not there's some sort of package, there's got to be something there that if Kane Coulter's not your quarterback, that he's finding a way to contribute, whether that's at the wide receiver position, whether that's at the running back. And I know that may sound strange to a lot of people, but I think you put your best players on. I mean, Kane Coulter is a special talent, and he needs to be on the field.
It's funny, we talk about Person's 73.5% completion rate last year and how phenomenal that was. Kane Coulter's at 70%. Right now. I mean, he's doing fairly well himself. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's finish with another quarterback question. This comes from Chase, who wants to know, Jerry, we'll start with you here. Is it possible for Taylor Martinez to be in the Heisman race?
I don't think so, because I don't think at the end of the day he's going to have the numbers, because I think one of two things are going to happen. They're going to start stopping Taylor Martinez. He's 79% of the offense. That will not continue. The solution to that is to get the tailback more involved. And once the tailback gets involved with Nebraska, then Taylor Martinez's numbers are going to go down because he's obviously not going to throw the ball a lot. So I say no.
Well, I say it's possible, Jerry, and it's all pure speculation, obviously. But if he keeps putting up those numbers, and most importantly, Nebraska keeps winning.
Yeah,
Nebraska
that's so key. That's so
winning,
key in Heisman races.
Big numbers,
Absolutely.
that type of program, he'd be in the race.
And he won't keep those numbers up if he's 79%. Yeah, I do. If he's 79% of the offense, the same thing's going to happen to him at Denard Robinson.
I said if, Jerry.
He's not going to do it in conference.
But I think here's one of the other things that we can keep in mind here. A defense like they have, if they can step up and get to what we believe they can play at, they're going to have many opportunities to make plays. So there's no question. I believe he may slow down some, but he has the ability to take it the distance every time he has the ball. So if they want to take away the tailback position and force him to run it, I think he'll have some numbers that'll be there.
Well, they got to force him to take the tailback position away, because right now there's no tailback to take away. He's not a factor.
Haven't really been able to get Burkhead going. That's a little surprising. They've got all those great freshman tailbacks as well that you felt like would get more involved. We saw a flash from Abdullah, that's for sure. I mean, you saw that he's got some moves. We talked a lot about that Nebraska defense as well on BTN Live, and hope you enjoyed that show. We encourage you to watch next week, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday night. And as always, continue to communicate with us on Twitter. The way to get a hold of us at BTN Live. And we will answer the questions, not just on the show next week, but also here on the Fifth Quarter. We'll see you then.